Hey, it's Rob. I have got a great one, a very good one here. This is one of my favorite books, one of my most memorable reads from when we were kids picking this up. I believe it's 89 or 90 when this come out. What If? This is my second What If book that I'm reviewing here, and this is one of the, like I said, one of the most memorable ones. What if Wolverine was an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D.? I think the thing that made it most memorable to me is that, again, I didn't know much about Wolverine. I knew a little bit. I didn't know almost anything about S.H.I.E.L.D. except the general concept of who and what they were. But not knowing much about it made it interesting. First off, we see who the artist there, Liefeld, Rob Liefeld. I have several reviews of several bits of his work on my channel here, and almost all of them, with the exception of one of them, are kind of ripping into him on his art. And it's just, so much of it is just so ridiculous. But this might be the first thing of Rob Liefeld's that I ever saw. I didn't know who he was. I remember seeing the art and thinking it was pretty dang good. There was something about it that was different and unique. And upon looking at it again, this is Liefeld drawing. He's doing pencils. Someone else was inking him. And it works. It looks good. It's wild. Like, we're going to check it out. Something I want to bring attention to here that I just recently discovered on this. You see the name Liefeld and you see the name Williams. That's Scott Williams, the inker on Jim Lee for most of his stuff. I mean, he inks over a lot of people, but his main collaboration is with Jim Lee. But that's Liefeld and Williams on inks here. But I have recently, I was looking through this issue, and in the back of it is a preview for this book, and it shows the cover. But let me put it in screen here. Liefeld and Gordon. Like, it's the same basic image, but it is very different. Like, it's very heavy-handed on the inks on the forearm versus the fine, hairy cross-hatching here. The face versus that one. I mean, it's interesting. They had someone else re-ink it for whatever reason. This is what they showed as in the preview. This is the cover they actually put on there. Honestly, this looks better, but it's just, this isn't bad. It's just really interesting why they did it. Just thought I'd point that out for anybody who found that interesting. Let's get into the book here. What if Wolverine was an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D.? All right. So this is Rob Liefeld doing Wolverine and the Watcher, and I like it. It looks good. I remember seeing this face and thinking that he had a really unique, interesting style that I liked. It looks good, and it doesn't look like traditional Liefeld stuff. This is published in 1989. So Liefeld's styles go through many different changes. This might be the best version of him there ever was. I mean, some of his late New Mutants and early X-Force stuff could arguably be that, but when you see him doing stuff in this book that he never does anywhere else. So we got Rob Liefeld pencils and Scott Williams on the inking, which I think helps a lot. I think Scott Williams brings a lot to the game, but this is, if you know the introduction of Wolverine to comics, it started out in a Hulk issue where Hulk was fighting the Wendigo here, and Wolverine dives in the middle of that fight, and that's the first time you ever saw Wolverine. It says here it happened in Incredible Hulk 180 and 181. That's where that character was introduced. So they're kind of retelling that story here, but this is a great drawing. The only thing that's kind of weird is I think this fist attached to that arm, like you're seeing it like it's turned away from you like that, where it should be more twisted towards you like that. It's kind of hard for me to get my fist in there to show. But beyond that, like, I dig this Hulk face. I think he was taking some inspiration from McFarlane's Hulk. That Wolverine looks great. The figure proportions are solid. Wendigo looks good. Like, how is this Liefeld? Reasonably believable backgrounds. Like, it looks good. And this is Liefeld, and I've torn into him on some other stuff on my channel here, and I got more to look at that I'll absolutely be tearing into him on for his art. This looks great. There was something unique about this Wolverine version here because he's super skinny. Wolverine's only supposed to be like 5 feet tall. Just a short little guy. And you see, you got Nick Fury here, the original Nick Fury, and then here's Wolverine being a short little guy. But so being a hyper skinny version, it could be a little bit different, but it's close enough. This helicopter is not bad. This helicopter, he obviously looked at something in reference to frickin' helicopter for once. I'm actually curious. I haven't thought about this. I haven't looked at this in a minute to see if Liefeld's standard thing of having characters staring at you, like all the faces staring at you, like he does so often. Let's see. I mean, this is a little different because you got these two guys looking at each other. He's just kind of being a little, intermediary between the two of them. And a close-up of Wolverine's face. That's fine. I'm pretty sure he just took and kind of copied this from a Jack Kirby shield helicarrier thing. That's all right. Decent backgrounds here, like a hallway with multiple levels, a room he's going into with tables, glasses, doors. Liefeld just doesn't draw this shit anymore. He just absolutely will not do it. He was doing it here. The coloring is actually for this newsprint, simple palettes of color, but their choice is to make it look like it's the sun going down in the background and then the kind of, they're flying into like a darker sky. That's pretty damn good. Basically, what Nick Fury is doing here is he's telling him that someone has infiltrated S.H.I.E.L.D. with, they call them LMDs, life model decoys, basically robots that are hard to distinguish between, that they're humans, like Terminators in a way. And so Fury is saying, you got the ability to sniff them out. I want you to find them. Your mutant senses, your sense of smell, hearing, sight, all this type of stuff. You can tell a robot from a human being. He's like, I want you to sniff them out and find them. Great, evil, smiling face. Wolverine says, I'm hoping you'd say that. And just shreds this guy who Nick Fury thought was on his team. You find out this guy, his second in command, was a freaking robot. Wolverine shreds him. That's a great pose. That's a good-looking Wolverine there. Great job. And they're like, holy shit, are you, what? Great panel. You got Scarlet Witch, Fury, Wolverine, he just kind of coming out of his like little violent rage here that he just did and kind of like calming himself down. I like this face in dark with the beady little eyes. And then this robot guy with all the robotic guts coming out. Fury's pissed. He's like, great, I want you and the Widow, Black Widow, you go find him. Find them all, kill them all. And start with our helicarrier they're on. Just clear out my ship. Let's get that done. So Wolverine's like, great, let's do it. And he's like, hey, Black Widow, I hear you're good. Let's find out. He says this could turn really ugly. And she's like, yeah, it usually does. Let's go. Love again. This picture with the shaded in mask of Wolverine. It makes him look really sinister and dangerous. Almost evil, but not quite. So we flip over. This is something that Liefeld tends to do. He's got to draw a big, expansive background, so it just tends to be a big, open, square room. But this is a better version of what he does. And you got Wolverine and Black Widow up here crawling in the rafters. Just enough of them showing that you can see them in shadow to know that they're up there. And Wolverine's like, there's a whole room of robots down there. Not a human among one of them. So we can just go kill them all. So they dive down into them and start shredding them. And I think all these drawings are great. Wolverine, he nailed the face great right there. Kind of an overhead view of they shredded some. They're just diving into this pile of characters and a great big image of them just shredding them, just ripping them apart. Black Widow using her little traditional wrist blaster things, killing them. This looks great. This is Rob Liefeld doing pencils. What great work. I mean, it's shocking for me to be sitting here going, this looks great. But Liefeld's killing it, man. He's just killing it. Love this shot. Bunch of figures there that they're just shredding into. This storytelling is great here. Now, I believe I skipped a part, or I didn't skip it, I just didn't call attention to it. Jim Valentino, he wrote the story, and he does the layouts. So he must have done like initial pencil layouts of how to tell the story. And that might have been something that's helping Liefeld here, because you got a seasoned professional who's a great storyteller laying out the pages and then telling Liefeld to go and, all right, now just draw this now that I've laid out the story. But Black Widow here, she's like spins on her heels with her hand out to blast this guy, and Wolverine's diving in there. I love the motion of this. His hand reaching out, his mask, like the eyes are kind of like a wider circle, showing concern. He's like, wait, that guy's human. He must have showed up late. No, don't kill him. No. And she's like, holy shit, that was close. That could have been a big mistake. He's like, yeah, but we're fine. It's done. And you kind of see that she's tussling with her hair. It's in her way. He's like, your hair's bothering you? He's like, I can take care of that problem. Single claw. Next time you see her, which I think that's supposed to be her right there. It's not a great, you'll see her in forthcoming pages. He cut her hair to be super short. It looks like there is some of that Liefeld faces staring at us directly, but it's not so intrusive. I don't know why, but it's still working. Look at this great scene. Everything in perspective. I mean, I wonder how much Valentino was involved in this, because if Liefeld could do this good here, because this is a 3-point perspective. Like, you've got an anchor point's way off here, and then anchor point's way off here, and then all these things coming down to an anchor point down low. The table, the chairs, the characters around it, some technological background that you kind of believe it, like it works. Liefeld couldn't do this today. And this is 3+ decades later. Fury, they're making a plan to, figure out where all these robots are coming from, and there's Wolverine looking badass. He's got a stogie, he's got a cup of whatever. He says, Fury tells Wolverine that he wants you to stick with Black Widow. You guys work good together. And he's like, great. So they're going to charge the villains who have the robots been invading S.H.I.E.L.D. So they're getting into that. So they blow open a wall, and here's another great big image. Big, awesome shot of the team. Fury, Wolverine, Black Widow. There's her with her short hair, and then some S.H.I.E.L.D. agents. And this is kind of typical Liefeld stuff, but done really well. Like, he's got a big main leader guy here, something with an eye, and big guy with a gun, very pre-Cable. But look at, he drew an actual gun, and he's actually got him physically holding it in, like, handle mounting points. You'll see later, Liefeld will absolutely not do that. He'll just draw guns as these weird, amorphous, malleable, stupid shapes. This actually looks like a gun. Again, I wonder how much Jim Valentino had a hand in that. But they're catching up with the bad guys. They've got their buddy that Fury was fooled by in the beginning, that Wolverine shredded up. They found the actual real version of him here. So they charge into it. They're taking out all these bad guys. Just beating the shit out of them. That's great looking Wolverine. They're charging. Great action, great movement. It's all just working really well. Just continuing fighting the bad guys. Just good action shots fighting. Nick Fury being a badass. Black Widow being a badass. Of course she is. And they're finally reaching the point where they've got the bad guys cornered in a room. They bust into a wall, exploded open. Fury, Wolverine, and Black Widow staring them all down. And again, I thought that's a great Fury face. It doesn't look like Rob Liefeld art, does it? Because it's good. But he penciled it. Pretty awesome. Big splash page of the bad guy. He's got some kind of like weird gauntlet thing it calls Satan's Claw. I've never heard of it. I've never seen it anywhere except here or anywhere else, but it's supposed to be some kind of big power up for him. So Wolverine, he doesn't waste any time. He just leaps, great drawing, great movement, great power, and then just shreds the gauntlet right off the guy's arm. Black Widow stops, spins, and shoots this lady down. Great movement and motion here. It just works really, really well. Impressive. Wolverine's about to take out the main bad guy, but Fury stops him, and Wolverine's a little pissed for a second, but he's like, it's Fury. He's like, no, he's mine. And Wolverine's like, oh, all right, okay, right. Let these guys have at it. Let the fight commence. Big fighting. Bad guy's got the upper hand on Fury momentarily, and he's cackling, and he's gonna, evil, I'm gonna win. And the other soldiers show up. They're like, we gotta help him. And Wolverine's like, no, just give him a minute. He's got it. Fury takes this guy's severed hand, and apparently there's a wall socket there, and he just plugs him into it. It electrocutes him, zaps him. And, well, that's it for that. So they've won. They've got their buddy. They've stopped the bad guys. They've eliminated the robots. And so Fury is saying, hey, you work great with us. Your senses, your abilities, you do great working for S.H.I.E.L.D. You should be part of our team. This is before Professor X approaches Wolverine to join the X-Men. He's like, yeah, that sounds like a good idea. I can do that. That seems like a way to go. So it jumps into a little bit of a time jump over here, and Wolverine's wearing a S.H.I.E.L.D. outfit, got a crazy cool blaster, just showing that he's joined S.H.I.E.L.D. and he's now a very powerful, very important member of the team, fighting along Captain America now, taking on multiple villains. The Watcher's just explaining how all this stuff has been kind of going well for everybody. It wasn't until some time would pass that Wolverine would get a strange visitor, and it's Professor X and Nightcrawler. This is leading into the story where in the X-Men books, he's trying to recruit Wolverine to help them with how in the X-Men books, Professor X had to put together a new team of X-Men, and Wolverine was on there. Wolverine's like, yeah, I can't help you, but I can't join you. I've already got a gig. But he's like, hey, if you need help, just me and S.H.I.E.L.D., we can keep our eyes on you. We can lend you a hand. We'll be there for you. So that's how that ends. Wolverine ends up not joining the X-Men. Then you got this flying car flying through a city. Now, again, this is something that you don't see Liefeld do this. A city scene that's pretty well done and a car flying through it. One of these robots who I guess I didn't catch has shown up way later to catch Nick Fury while he's flying in the car, and the car is just weaving through the city here uncontrollably. Car gets flipped upside down. The bad guy robot ends up falling off, slamming into the ground, smashing him. But the car is so jacked up, its flight systems are screwed up. Fury can barely control it. He careens the thing out into the ocean and splashes into the water and explodes. And Fury's dead. So now S.H.I.E.L.D. has to kind of decide what they're going to do from here. And I guess the higher-ups offered Fury's number, his second in command, this guy here, Duggan, and they offered him the job to take over. But he's like, it's not for me. I can't do it. And Wolverine's like, well, I can take over. I can do that. So Wolverine decides to take up the gig, and he becomes the Nick Fury of S.H.I.E.L.D. He's running it. And it's saying here in the text how Wolverine being in charge of this, he made a very positive impact on the world. He helped, he did several things that stopped a chain of events that led to the X-Men and Jean Grey becoming Phoenix, and then the story that leads to the Dark Phoenix. So the world that they're in here was spared that horror, and he helps mutants rise to prominence and avoid the kind of hostilities that they traditionally do. Basically, this is a story that ends in a positive light, which you kind of don't see in these what-ifs. Wolverine goes to S.H.I.E.L.D., ends up running it, and he makes the world a better place. That's a fantastic way to end. Wolverine's a badass. I love it. It's really well done. Great comic, great story, and great art by Mr. Rob Liefeld. Somehow, he pulled it off and drew a pretty damn good book. And I would submit this as the best work he's ever done, ever. I mean, I would challenge anybody to show me something that looks better than this. To me, I don't think there is. So, like I've said before, I've given Liefeld a lot of shit for a lot of his terrible artwork, but I've said also that he's done stuff that I like. And this is one of them. This might be the absolute best thing he's ever done. It's beautiful. And it's a great read, great one-off issue. So let me know. Do you remember this book? I'm sure a lot of you have seen this thing. This is a big one. And it was very popular at the time and a big landmark for the artists and creative teams. And I think it looks great. So let me know what you think about it. And that's all I've got for now. So thank you for watching. As always, I very, very much appreciate it. And see you next time.